I solemnly swear that I will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help me God.
Good morning, everybody. Ron here from The Truth About Addiction. Today we have a special guest from the other side of the world, which I like, getting people that I don't get to speak to on a daily basis, which is true. And I've got Andy Foe. Andy's an incredible tattoo artist, and I can't wait to hear his stories, the same as you guys. So welcome, Andrew. Thank you very much for coming on to The Truth About Addiction, mate.
Thank you, brother. Happy to be here.
So what's the Andy Foe story, brother?
There's so many points that I can pick up on, but to round it out, I grew up in Brooklyn, and I've always been into art, but I've had the typical immigrant family story of like be a lawyer, doctor, engineer, and I tried that. I went to college for that. My sister has degrees in mechanical, electrical, nuclear, and she loves her job. So I said, hey, I want to love my job too, but I had no idea what it meant to be an engineer, so I dropped out. And I went for graphic design. And then there were some really good art professors who saw something in me and pushed me to go do that, do something with art. And I reached out to my brother, Robert Foe, who's been tattooing since I was 1 or so. I was 22 at the time. So 21 years he's been tattooing. And he said, hey, if you move out to Las Vegas, I'll teach you. But I didn't know Robert growing up my whole life. Like we have the same father. And our father was involved in a homicide robbery when I was 16. So, he was taken from us shortly. And then as a detective was working on our case, found out my dad had 3 other kids. Robert was, in prison for 7 years, gang related stuff. He owns a tattoo shop in North Carolina, doing good. He's like, hey, do you want to talk to him? I said, yeah. So that's how I met my brother, and I ended up choosing tattooing as like an art form or career. And I got my first tattoo at 16 by him in his kitchen, but I just didn't make much of it. But when I got to go visit him at his tattoo shop, I got to see people commit full sleeves, full bodies to like realism work, which is not what I was familiar with seeing with tattoos. And I said, you know what, this is what I want to do. So, since about 22, I'm 35 now, I've been tattooing. And yeah, it's like, it's a big passion of mine. Like, I just love doing it. And to be able to like permanently mark and transform people is just like, it's an honor, that people trust you, to this level to like change them forever.
Yeah, look, everybody has their own reason or their own motivation for getting tattooed.
Mm-hmm.
When I got tattooed as a kid, I was a rebel.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody got tattooed.
Yeah.
Prison guys got tattooed. Soldiers got tattooed, Navy soldiers, military cops got tattooed. People that took risks got tattooed. So a tattoo in my world was fuck you.
Yeah.
And then I watched the transformation in the 90s where it started to become mainstream.
Yeah.
But tattoo studios used to be very, very dark places and really confronting and edgy. You'd walk in, there'd be some big biker dude there like, what do you want, motherfucker? I want that, You won't be able to take that. Fuck off, That sort of attitude was very much the go, And in Australia, when I was a kid, there was probably there'd be 6 tattoo studios in the whole of a city, like a city, like New York was underground.
Yeah.
It was illegal in New York. A lot of people don't even know that. Up only till not in the last 30 years, I think it's only become legal over there. It was illegal, I think, still 30 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But, it was all underground. It was all gangster stuff. And, I got my first tattoo as a 17-year-old boy in a prison.
Yeah.
And I got a pirate's head on my hand because I was going to be a pirate. I didn't even have a boat. But anyway, that was my crazy. In those days, it was done with a needle, 2 matchsticks and some cotton tied around it, and you just hand poke,
Yeah.
And I got that covered up pretty quickly. I got it actually got it scraped off as in the 70s, in 1973. I got it scraped off because you can't be a criminal with tattoos on your hands.
Yeah, they'll identify you.
Exactly. And in my days, in the 70s, the crime was armed robberies. It wasn't drugs, because drugs hadn't become mainstream at that stage. Drugs were not a big issue in 1971. By 1975,
The 70s, yeah.
You know, we had the Vietnam War come back. The veterans come back with heroin. And yeah, the rest is history, as they say, you know, like,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
So you started tattooing and you started taking drugs.
Well, I started smoking when my dad passed away.
Okay.
You know, so I was 16 years old. My dad was the breadwinner. He was the person that held the family together, and it was just my mom and my two sisters. And I had a brother-in-law, and he was smoking for a while, and that was just our way of coping. So I just learned to smoke, and then I was smoking like 4 blunts a day. I'd wake up, smoke a blunt, have breakfast, a blunt, lunch, blunt, dinner, blunt, go to sleep, and repeat all summer long.
Yeah.
And that was our way of like being okay with the loss of like your father. Meanwhile, my mom's crying in the other room, and my sisters are trying to like work through their stuff. And then I eventually stopped, and it just became one of those things that I just picked up from time to time. But I realized it was just like a coping mechanism to just distract from the reality of whatever pain that you were going through. And then once I got into tattooing, then it just became like social, because that's what artists did. Artists would just smoke and try to be creative. I couldn't do that though. I couldn't be creative. I would just be stuck. I wasn't the creative type when I smoked. But throughout my college years, it was just, drinking and blacking out every weekend, and just to like make the time go by. It was smoking or drinking was more of an exciting thing than perhaps real life was, at times. And then after I left my brother's shop, 2020, I picked on it heavily again, because that was, just a very tough time, to kind of lose a brother, a father figure, a mentor, a tattoo artist, through my decision of leaving. It was just hard to just learn how to cope and deal with the emotions. So, you just try to have some sort of positive reaction through smoking, and again, a couple blunts a day just to kind of deal with that. But I moved back to New York, and I got back into like working out heavily, so then that kind of tapered down the smoking. I stopped smoking as much. Then I started picking up mushrooms, and mushrooms was one of the things that I've heard for a while of it,
Yeah.
having some sort of healing properties, and, you could work through your trauma. And, I was probably like depressed, like just probably the darkest time since my father passed away, and anything but that. I thought I was gonna, if you took mushrooms, you were gonna like kill yourself or lose it or something. And I say, I'd rather just try this and see what comes out of it. And I had a friend who kind of guided me through that experience, and from there I just learned through my first experience was like, who are you and what do you want? It was just like this voice echoing over and over, and I couldn't quite figure out who I was and what I wanted in life. I almost contemplated not tattooing anymore and just trying to figure out like, what else could I do for career? Was I worthy of tattooing? Do I deserve to have these tattoos on me? It was one of those kind of existential crisis moments. And just kept taking more and more mushrooms, just to like, maybe there's some answers through the subconscious or something that I could possibly find from there. And it just ended up upping from, 3 grams, 7 grams, 12 grams, and then it went all the way up to like 22 grams. And it was like, when you restart your computer and it doesn't want to turn on, it's like loading or it's frozen. Like, that was just what it was like towards the end of like these very long trips. And it was like, what do I want to do with my life? And it went back to the first questions, like, who are you and what do you want to do? And I was like, I want a tattoo. I want to be good at this. I want to mentor people. I want to coach people. I want to guide people out of a dark spot, because I know what that's like, So then I stopped, and now it's just been in place of like service, putting out the message of just like, it wasn't for me. And I know there's a lot of people that it's not for them either. They're also going through dark times, but there's other ways to get through it rather than just being dependent on some substance to help you get through reality.
Yeah, 100%, man. So with the mushrooms, this is a curious question for me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a recovering addict. I believe in total abstinence. That's just me. That's just for me.
Mm-hmm.
Because what would happen with me was I'd take that much today, and then I'd take that much on Thursday, then I'd take that much on Saturday, and then I'd take every second day. I'd do that for a couple of weeks, then I'd take it every day, and in the end I'd be taking so much that I wouldn't be able to walk or talk, because that's my personality.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I have a complete bodysuit. I got my underarms tattooed when no one was getting their underarms tattooed,
Yeah.
I got my private parts tattooed, and people are going, "Why would you do that?" I said, "Because it looked really weird when I was naked."
Mm.
It wasn't
Yeah.
that I wanted to get the pain. I don't like the pain of tattooing. It's part of my journey.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not that I don't like it. I don't like pain. That's why I took chemicals.
Mm.
I don't like any sort of pain, especially emotional pain.
Mm-hmm.
But I found tattoos for me were very freeing. They're like a bloodletting. Because I started getting tattooed again when I came into recovery, and I had an 18-year gap of getting tattooed. I got tattooed in 1974. Then I never got tattooed again till whatever, 18 years later, 92 or something. Anyway, the mushrooms to me scare the hell out of me. Because I hear people talking about it in recovery now, saying, "Oh, I'm going to go on this wonderful experience and take these mushrooms to help my recovery." I don't see how. There's only me. I just scare the hell out of me.
Yeah.
I can't guarantee my behavior once I put a chemical in my body.
Mm.
So how the hell am I going to be manageable with that? And I've never been manageable with anything in my life.
Yeah.
So what was your experience with that? Is that what happened with you? You started taking a little bit and it progressed?
Yeah, I had a client who gave me a chocolate bar with mushrooms. It was like 4 grams for, chocolate bar. And I didn't want to take it. It just sat with me for a while, but I gave it to my friend and I said, hey, brought it to him and just in secret, hey, I have this chocolate mushroom. And he goes, wow, you know me so well. I was like, so you know about this? You've done this before? And he goes, yeah, it helps you be more creative. It helps you work through your traumas. I was like, well, I want to be more creative.
Yeah.
I don't want to work through some of my traumas. And, it started out with 2 grams, 3 grams, and then it went up to 12. And that was a really heavy one. And I was like, okay, I think I can take a break from it for a while. Then I got some more chocolates. And then it was just let me eat 1 piece, which is a third of a gram. Let me eat 2 pieces. Let me eat 3 pieces. And I thought microdoses, were 1.5 grams, 2 or 3 grams. I realized I was taking macro doses, so not quite heroic, 5 grams or up, but I was doing macro doses. And, I felt joyful, because it was a positive feeling, more than being sober perhaps. But you're absolutely right in the sense of you feel like it's going to help you through this emotional pain that you're working through. But what I realized was you feel that joy, you feel that high of whatever it is. And then once you come down from that, it's oh, now I'm back to normal again. And, I want to do that again so that I don't have to feel the same thing. But mushrooms have a half-life, it's not the same if you take the same amount the next day. So then you start to take more, you realize you maybe have to take a break every 2 or 3 days, and then you try it again. And then I started to do ceremonial sittings. Ceremonial sittings are bigger doses, 7 grams, 12 grams. One time I did 22. And at some point you do lose it. You have to figure out, and part of the mushroom or psychedelic world when you're doing these ceremonial settings is learning to let go. Let's just see what happens if you let go and let your subconscious or everything comes out. And it's terrifying because I don't know how I would be if I really just let go and see how I would respond in a room full of people.
Yeah.
And I just realized I really don't have control over my thoughts and my emotions, even with mushrooms, no matter how much I took, So it's if I'm really trying to control my emotions, my thoughts, my feelings, it's best that I do that without, and I just I went off of it. I found there was nothing else for me once I reached 22 grams. I think it was just repeating the same. It was showing me the same patterns and habits and thoughts of you need to learn how to communicate better. You need to learn how to deal with your emotions. You're running away. And I've run away in different forms through medicine. I've run away through physical running. I ran 5 50K events in 1 year. I was ready to run across the US, which would take 75 days, 40 miles a day. And I found that easier than working through my shit, through my emotional pain. I also was avoiding art, so I would rather, do mushrooms. I would rather run instead of working on my art. So once I went off of it, I started to really embrace, what I was avoiding, which was the inner work, the artistic work, just confronting all the things that I didn't like about myself. And that's hard to do.
Yeah. No, beautiful, because it has been something that's been coming up recently, more so in America at the moment. It's becoming trendy. And as soon as I heard it, I just started to giggle inside. I thought, that's not me. Because I know me. I've been doing recovery now since 1981, which is a long time, you know. And I relapsed three times between 81 and 85. At 10 months clean, I thought I could drink alcohol sociably. I had 2 drinks and a couple of pills, stole a car to go and do an armed robbery because I wanted some heroin, crashed the car because I'm on pills and alcohol. The police come, I steal the police car. So that didn't work out that great.
Yeah.
That was my last drink of alcohol in 1982.
Yeah.
And then I'd been clean for 30 months. And I thought I had all the answers. And I thought I could manage my using. I'd be able to control my intake because I have all this information from the 12-step programs and things like that. And that didn't work out well either. So from my personal experience, I cannot put a mind altering chemical in my body and guarantee my behavior.
Yeah.
You know, and to be quite honest, the longer I've been clean, the more I enjoy being clean.
Yeah. I'm right there with you.
I'm clean because I like it. If I didn't like it, I'd be using. That's my nature.
Yeah.
You know? So back to art. It's really funny. You said the shroom stopped us from drawing, from being creative. The pot stopped us from being created. Philip Liu, I'm sure you're familiar with. Philip, to me, was one of the greatest artists ever be around.
Yeah.
We were in a hotel room in Amsterdam, and we're talking, and I'm not talking out of school here. Philip's dad passed away, God rest him. He'd had a heroin addiction for a long time. And Philip and I were talking about addictions and that because I was in recovery. And he said to me, when I smoke pot, I'm no longer creative. That's why I stopped smoking pot. I can't draw. He said, I used to think I could draw better when I was on the pot. He said, but my creative style was gone when I got stoned, you know. And that was just a really funny thing coming from a guy that's, you know, bohemian. He grew up in that world where it was, you know, in Switzerland, and, you know, he had all this incredible life, and he's a hippie at heart. And yeah, oh man, I got photos of Philip and I together, where I've got more tattoos than Philip. You know, like, you know, I'm fully soon. He used to laugh about it and go, you look like you're the tattooist and I look like I'm the student, you know. We've got a bit of a joke going on with that.
Yeah.
He said the same thing, that taking drugs stunted his creativity, stopped him from being the artist that he is, because, you know, he's one of the first guys to ever start doing full body suits and, you know, doing one drawing of one suit that's got to fit you. That's you. That's a really big deal for me to hear that, because
I'll add one more thing with that, is that I was taking MDMA also, you know, one of these ceremony weekends, and MDMA helped me work through some, you know, some emotional blocks with my parents. And I started to draw more after that period of time. And I realized, like, I just had a lot of judgment on myself that was preventing me from drawing in a certain way. Like, I was always really judgmental on, like, what every single mark looked like. You know, I had a preconceived notion of what good art was supposed to be. But after that, I just kind of let loose. So since that moment, like, I was taking mushrooms and just trying to, like, let more, you know, just be more loose and just create more freely. But I realized, like, it amplified my judgment on myself. And whenever I could draw something, I was like, oh, great, let me try to replicate it again. And I had a hard time replicating it because I was trying to force it into some sort of box, some sort of mold. Yeah. And then I got to a point where, like, I felt like I was creative, but now I was dependent on mushrooms to be creative. And I was like, I'm not really creative. Like, the mushroom within me is the creative one. So then I had to force myself to draw without it. And what I realized was, just through the reps, the confidence of just doing it without it, was like, you still are creative. You know, you just have to learn how to be dependent on this thing and stop judging yourself so hard. So there's always some sort of emotional block that, you know, psychedelics may help you unlock, but you can work through all of those things without it. You know, if someone can guide 100%. You through the right activities and exercises.
and through breath,
Yep.
by training, by meditation, by exercise. Yeah, look,
Look at that. When was that? What year?
1995.
95.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got more tattoos than him.
Yeah, that's crazy, you know. That was back in 1995, man. Yes. And at that stage, my legs were fully covered, and yeah, it's crazy. It was just one of them. It was a very good.
Yeah.
See, to me, also in the tattoo world, I've created some beautiful friendships.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen Philip since 1990. I've seen him again a couple of times, but if I ring him up today, it's like, hey man, what's happening?
Mm-hmm.
They give you 10-year, 15-year gap.
Yeah.
And you know, it's still there, you know, like I'm going to speak to Freddie Corbin today. As I said, he's in Australia, and I was supposed to be doing a podcast with him, but I've committed to taking my son fishing.
Yeah.
So I'm taking my son fishing, man.
Enjoy that.
Because I'd already committed to my 8-year-old boy that him and I were going into the middle of Australia, into the Aboriginal Arnhem Land, into the dense bush, which is an Aboriginal community. Not many people get to go there.
Yeah.
And I go there and yeah, I'm allowed to go there. I've been adopted by them because I hunt for them as well.
Mm.
I sometimes go up and I hunt and get buffalo, and I butcher it for them and give the people meat. And so, you know, I'm pretty gifted. I'm very lucky, and we brought recovery into the communities, try to bring an understanding and awareness of alcoholism, and a lot of pot smoking gets done in the communities up here.
Yeah.
I'd rather them smoke pot than drink alcohol because they get very violent on alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we try to carry that message here. So when you stopped, did you do any rehab or?
No, it was the same when I stopped drinking alcohol and I stopped smoking weed. Last year, so I don't have some people have a hard, sober date. They stop, they made a commitment from this date. It was sometime, January of last year.
Yeah.
And, I would have a beer during lunch or dinner. And each time I ordered a glass of beer, like I would drink less and less of it. And I would just never finish it, And there was one time I just remember being at a meal, looking at my drink that was like, a fifth of the way done. I was like, I'm done with this. Like, it doesn't do anything for me. I don't enjoy the taste anymore. I'm done. And then I just stopped. There was no urge to drink again. And I was okay with telling people I'm okay without a drink. I can go hang out and carry some water and not feel some sort of pressure because I felt better without it. And the same thing with smoking weed. The last time I remember I do have a date was Easter 2022, was with my neighbor who's, 65 or 67 years old.
Yeah.
And it was so cool to be able to smoke weed with her. And same thing, I was just, smoking, and my daughter came out. My daughter was maybe 3.5 years old. And, she wants to do whatever Papa's doing. And she was just like, Papa, can I try? I want to blow, smoke too. And I was just like, no, like, you don't want to do that. And, my wife brought her back inside, and I was like, damn, she has to see me do this. And I want to tell her like, she shouldn't be doing it, but I'm doing it. And it was the same feeling of like, why am I doing it? And I just stopped. And then the same thing with mushroom. That was earlier this year, of just having one of the bigger ceremony sittings of like maybe 5 grams. And, people can say there's no good trip or bad trip, but it just wasn't an enjoyable trip. And same thing, I was like, what am I doing this for? Like I can work through my stuff without it. And then it was just a moment of like clarity of just like, I'm done, but there was no looking back. There's no temptations for it. I had a bunch of chocolate mushroom bars and gummies and stuff, and I just was okay throwing it all in the trash.
Yeah.
Like, finish, like cold turkey, I guess they'd say.
Mm-hmm.
But with each of those 3 things was just like a slow weaning off of it and just questioning, is this good for me? Is it useful? Is it building me up? And I just realized like, no, it's not building me up at all. It's kind of worn out its day. I've outgrown it. Time to move on.
I think the question I say to a lot of people, what you've got to ask yourself is, what is it doing for me that I can't do for myself? So all of a sudden, I can cope with the way I feel by doing certain things. I used to train a lot. I was a boxer, so I trained a lot, my whole life. And then I started taking drugs and I stopped training. I had a buddy ask me, he wanted to compete. He was a bodybuilder. I've never been a bodybuilder. I've never taken roids or any of that stuff. I'd like to be a natural. And he said, "Oh, I need someone to help me train. I'm training for the Mr. Australia." And he couldn't get anyone to commit to him. And because of me, I said, "I'll commit to you." I was 40, 48 or something. He was early 20s. You know, he's 115 kilos. You know, I'm 85 kilos. You know, I'm like, "All right, I'll train with you."
Yeah.
So I committed to a 6-month training session with him. And I did the whole thing with him, trained with him every morning. We trained twice a day, depleted with him when he getting ready for the comp. And it was just an experience to go through that discipline. Because to me, life's about discipline.
Yeah.
It's about having control over my thoughts and my feelings, my actions and my reactions.
Yes.
My reactions are the hardest ones. So my reactions are learned experiences. Because when I was naughty, my dad yelled at me.
Yeah.
So when I'm frustrated, I yell at people. So I had to learn, well, that's inappropriate.
Yeah.
And I'm a human being, so we're always going to make mistakes. And I'm a male, so I have an ego. And I'm an addict, so I have defected characters. So I've had to learn to understand that I'm never going to be perfect.
Yeah.
But I can strive to be a better person than I was yesterday. And then when I make the mistake, I can make amends and say, man, and I've done this a lot. What I said was right, but the way I said it was wrong.
Yeah.
I apologize for the way I've said something, but what I said, I meant.
Yeah.
And I'm not one of them guys that, you know, like, "Oh, I'm sorry." It's like, you know, the way I said it was wrong and I shouldn't have been aggressive. But when I said you're a fuckwit, you're a fuckwit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you know,
What you said. It
it's
could have
not
been
what
said
I said.
differently.
It's how I said it that I apologize for. And I believe
Yeah.
that's the same with myself. See, I don't believe that we have a drug problem. I think we have a thinking problem.
Yeah.
You know, I do. I don't believe in drug addiction, alcoholism, shrooms, whatever you want to put in that banner, sex, gambling, food, exercise.
Yeah.
We have to find positive. I'm always going to be an addict.
Yeah. Yeah.
Today, I'm addicted to helping people.
Yeah. You have to choose your addiction.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Channel that energy somewhere, because you've got to put that energy somewhere. That energy drives me crazy.
Yeah.
You know, I'm 68 years of age. I'm committed I have some spinal stuff from, you know, coming off motorbikes and crashes and cars. I wasn't never a bikie. You know, I had a Ducati and I ran into the back of a truck, you know, and broke a lot of bones and all that stuff. So I have a lot of injuries, and I've stopped training the last 10 years. And I'm starting to feel it. I'm putting weight on in places I'd never had weight. So I made a commitment last month. I have a friend who owns a gym. He's a very, very successful trainer. And he has nutritionists work there. So I'm going to come and commit myself. I'm going to lose 10 kilos this next year not over the next year, over a year period. I'm going to lose 10 kilos. I'm going to get my health back in shape.
Yeah.
And I said it out loud. So it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Because I'm that guy. If I say it out loud,
yeah,
it's going to happen because one, I like to be congruent. Two, I really like to be honest.
Yeah.
Three, I like to be reliable. So I live by 8 demands. I have 8 demands, and I've run my program on this 8 demands for a bloody long time, for 42 years. And I give these to my clients when they do this program of mine. I should get my wife to email them over to you.
Yeah, that'd be great.
See, and it says openness, the state where you stand, but not to stand your ground. Be open with your thoughts and your feelings. So you got to have an open mind. You know, somebody says something, you got to think, well, okay, I mean, because usually our mind goes, no, that's not correct. Instead of having an open mind and thinking about it, I think, wait a minute, let me just have a little think about this. Accept that other people can see you better than you can see yourself. If one person tells you you've been a dickhead, have a look at it. 2 people tell you, have a good look at it. 3 people tell you, you're being a dickhead.
You got to wonder if it's you, if it's really true.
I always say, what's the common denominator here?
Yeah.
I've had 5 really shit relationships in the last 3 years.
Yeah.
The common denominator is you know.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, you know. And then reliable, you know, reliable with your thoughts and your feelings. If you say you're going to do something, do it. If you say you're not going to do it, don't do it. That's also being reliable. See, also something I respected about you today already. You're early. See, I believe if I'm on time, I'm late.
Yep.
You know, these are principles, old man's principles, but they're the principles that make my recovery possible and make my dignity and my self-worth really strong. Because it doesn't matter what you think about me, it's what I think about me. Because, you know, I'm the only person I've got to impress.
Yeah.
The only person I'm in competition with is me. If I'm a better version of me tomorrow, I've had a great day. I've been successful. And I try to learn something on a daily basis. It's so important for humility to be open to be able to learn, you know. So these are my demands. Congruence, I don't ask you to do something that I'm not prepared to do. Thoroughness, if you're cleaning your machine, you don't just stick it in the water and give it a wash like they used to. You know, you pull it out, you get a toothbrush, clean your needles. Everything's disposable these days. I'm old school, so I'm talking about making your own needles and all that bullshit, you know. But, you know, like all that stuff's thoroughness, is thorough with your thoughts.
Yeah.
Don't let your thoughts run your race. Be thorough. Question your thoughts. What evidence do I have that that's true? Because my head used to tell me I was worthless, useless, and hopeless, that I wasn't good enough. My head's even told me to kill myself. Now, if someone else spoke to you like that, would you associate with that person?
No.
No way. I say, would you let a liar, a thief, and a cheat live in your house? No. Well, why do you let one live in your head?
Yep.
You know, this is consistency. You start the day at 5 miles an hour, you finish the day at 5 miles an hour. You know? And the next one is respect. In giving respect, we get respect. Respect has to be earned. It can't be demanded or bought. I thought respect was that. Gangster shit. That's not respect. That's called fear.
Yeah.
Fear, resentment, hatred. That's not respect, you know. And honesty. Just tell the truth how it is. Don't add bits on. Don't leave bits off.
Yeah.
You know, people, you tell a story, you leave bits off because you're scared of judgment.
Yep.
And if you tell the truth, you got no fear.
Yeah.
That's what my company's called, The Truth About Addiction. Because once you tell the truth, I went back to jail at 16 years clean for 8 years. You know, I got sentenced to 18 years in a federal penitentiary at 16 years sober for conspiracy to import cocaine. And I don't say that with any shame or guilt or remorse or anything. I say it because that's what happened.
Yeah.
I made a bad decision. I'm not a victim. But the reality is I don't hide it. Because if I hide it, I give it power.
Yeah. It'll eat you up inside.
100%. I say we're only as sick as our secrets.
That's a good one.
And I had a client come to me, wanted to do work with me because I was building some really high-class hot rods. And I said, this guy had a lot of money. He owned a massive, big insurance company in Australia. And he bought one car off me, and then he came and he wanted me to build a car. It was $1 million build. And I said, you and I need to go and have a coffee. And we sat down. And I said to him, I'm a convicted felon. I came out of prison 𝐀𝐧𝐝 ago. I'm still on parole. If you still want me to build your car, lovely. And he said, why are you telling me this? I said, because I want to tell you, not the police, not some friend of yours in council, in the government, because, you know, this guy was very influential. Yeah. I said, and plus, I want you to have a choice of who you deal with. I said, but that's not who I am. That's what I did. Yeah. I said, who I am, I said, I'm very, you know, honest person. I said, and I'll give you the best job I can give you. And he sat there for a minute and he started laughing. He said, and then I explained to him too. I said, I don't care how much money you've got. I said, because I don't get to spend your money. And he started smiling. He said, no one's ever said that to me before, because this guy's probably a billionaire, you know. And he just started laughing. He said, when do you want the deposit? Yeah. Because, you know, because of the honesty and the integrity of being upfront and saying, man, this is what they're going to tell you about me, but that's not who I am. This is what the system's going to tell you. But the reality is I made a big mistake. Do I regret it? More than words can say. What do I regret? I missed watching my little girl, who was 8 years of age, or 6 years of age, from 6 to 16. I missed on her growing up. Now she's 28 now, but, you know, and I regret that I got back involved in the old world. It was a bad decision. I don't deny that, and I can justify it till the cows come home. But the truth of the matter is, I made a mistake. Big deal.
Yeah,
big deal. I'll never make it again. I usually don't make the same mistake.
Yeah,
but with your life story, you're still, how old are you now?
35.
35. So much more to come. And
Oh,
your
I
art's
know.
incredible.
Thank you.
Your art's incredible, man. And I don't say that. I'm not one of these guys that goes like, oh, I really love your work, man. You know, I'm not that guy. I'm
Yeah.
like, fuck, man, this guy's worth shit, you know, like, because, you know, there's some scratches out there that are putting shit on kids that, honestly, in the old Ron would want to go around to their house and take their machines off them and slap them up the side of the head with their machine and tattoo dickhead across their foreheads, you know. So if I ever hear about you tattooing another kid, because they're tattooing underage kids and they're putting shit on them, you know.
Yeah, there's just no respect for the craft or for the person wearing it.
Exactly. My daughter that I said, when I went to the prison, she went back to live in America. Her mum was American, and she was 14 years of age, and some backyard tattooist in Florida tattooed fearless down her ribs. The F was that big, the S was that big, like it went like that. The tattoo was like that, and it was just the worst. I've had to get it lasered and lasered and lasered. Now I'm going to get it covered up for her. But man, he wants to be grateful that I can't come into America because of my felony charges. Otherwise, I'd be tattooed fearless across his forehead, you know?
Yeah.
I was so angry. I thought, and because she was a pretty little 14-year-old girl, that's whose motivation was. Take your top off and I'll tattoo fearless on your ribs, baby.
Yeah.
In some caravan park in back of Florida. Because tattooing to me is an art. It's an incredibly, you know, it's been going a long time, man. People underestimate, you know, the power of tattooing and what it means, you know, like, yeah. You know probably better than most people how much dedication it takes to lay down this tattoo on people and to know that person's going to carry that for the rest of their life. And the intimacy between you and your client after a long period of time.
The experience and the memories, everything, because they're always going to carry that. Sometimes as tattoo artists, and it's a constant reminder, we forget that we do this for a living.
Yeah.
So it's just day in, day out. We're just doing the tattoo and it becomes a normal part of our day. But for that person, they've been doing their research for months or years. They've been saving their money. They're scheduling time off. They're deciding what part of their body, what do they want to get? How is it going to show? And then they come in on this day to get permanently marked. And the artist is either super excited, prepared, and ready, or it's just another day.
Yeah.
You know, and they're going to remember whatever that interaction is like. And every time they look at their tattoo, like, how do they feel about the experience, the interaction? Like, what type of energy does it remind them of? And I know of people who have beautiful artwork, so from some well-known tattoo artists, and the energy isn't right. So they'd rather get it lasered off so that they don't have to look at it and remember what they went through at that time.
Yeah.
You know, like there's just no regard for the experience that sometimes weighs more than the art itself. Some people think the art is all that matters, but no, like the art is the byproduct of the exchange that's happening, that you're going to help me represent myself to the world.
Yeah.
You just happen to do beautiful artwork that I resonate with. So can you be the professional? Can you be the great artist that's going to help me as the client show more of who I am to the world? And it's a big deal. It's a lot of responsibility. And I've shared that perspective, but some tattoo artists still don't see it that way. And that's okay. I know people are not going to, it's not okay, but they can have their opinion on it, but that's just not how I operate. You know, like you have to take that into consideration, that they have to wear this forever, regardless of how you feel on your craft. Like take some ownership and take some responsibility that this is very important. This is important work. Some people just think it's just drawing on people, but it's more than that. People have to wear this forever.
That was one of the reasons I reached out to you, because of your moral compass. Honestly, that was one of the reasons I reached out to you, not because you're in recovery or whatever. Mine was like, I like this guy's integrity. I like what he says, you know. It's like the tattoo artist does have a major responsibility. I've been tattooed by some of the biggest names. And I walked away from there and thought, you'll never tattoo me again. You're a fuckwit.
Yeah.
Your attitude, not as a person, but your attitude is terrible.
Yeah.
Your attitude, your ego is way out of blowing, and your ability is suffering because of that.
Yeah.
You know, his crafts, his workmanship, he may have been a great single needle tattooist, but with a shitty attitude, the single needle tattooist just start to become sketchy.
Yeah.
And I have it from two of the biggest tattoo artists in the world at the time. I had to get work done to fix up their tattoos. I had to go to a buddy of mine to fix them up.
Yeah. It hurts tattoo artists long term. And some tattoo artists can look at certain artists or themselves and they go, well, fuck them because I'm doing good enough. I do great work. I'm busy. I charge the amount that I want. Fuck everyone else because like I get to do what I want. And that's why I joined this career. And I understand that you have the flexibility to work at your schedule to create the artwork that you want, but it's still a relational experience. It takes two people to do this. And there's an energy exchange that takes place. Like you have to honor that experience. And there's going to be people that are going to thrive, tattoo artists that are going to thrive way more with great bedside manners, a great experience for their client. And they can do subpar work. You know, people that do subpar work, but an amazing experience, you will have clients that are there for life. They will always come back. And generally those people with great experiences, great bedside manners, that are professional about it, they tend to have the ability to progress in their skill set as well. So you can have both. You know, you don't need to have one or the other. And it's just something that I just want to bring more awareness to. And as I share this stuff on my platform, you can just see the split between artists who are just like, fuck yeah. And clients are like, I appreciate that. And then other people are just like, fuck off. Who are you to tell me what to do? It's like, if you feel some type of way about this message, like you could be doing a lot better, but they feel insecure because now it's being brought to light, you know? And I think as tattooing starts to become even more mainstream, more accepted, more people are doing them, more people are getting them, we're now going to start to weed certain artists out. You know, they're going to kill themselves off because there are people who want to do a great job at the tattoo and who have great ethics, good morals. And those people are going to rise to the top while everyone else is just going to fuck off with wherever they fit. I believe in having people rise to their greatest potential as artists.
Yeah. And I respect you for that because I've seen a lot of people come and go short term. And then I've seen the longevity of some artists, you know, like there's a guy called Greg James. He used to work at a Sunset Strip tattoo in California. He tattooed all the stars, you know, like Charlie Sheen and Roseanne and Motley Crue. He went on tour with Motley Crue and tattooed. Well, he tattooed me about 300 hours he's put on my body. He ended up being the best man at my wedding. You know, we became good buddies. We're still mates now. You know, this is a friendship that'll be there for till the day we die. We don't see each other because I have trouble getting back into America. I'm still trying. We're going to take on the system, and because I lived in America for 20 years on and off and never got one parking ticket, one speeding fine. You know, it's not like I'm, you know, I created a felon over there, you know. But Greg's still tattooing today. Greg's been tattooing for over 50 years. And the old Japanese masters used to come from Japan to LA to get Greg to put a tattoo on him. And his bedside manner is absolutely beautiful. And the way he lays his ink down, man, he makes all his own pigment. He's real old school. You know, he's been tattooing for, well, I'm 69. Greg's been tattooing since he was about 13. We're the same age. So, you know, and this guy's longevity was incredible. And, you know, it was all about his bedside manner. Great tattooist, but his bedside manner was the thing that everybody came back to. You know, we all went back to Greg, and he was a gentleman. You know, Freddie Corbin, they call him Mr. Nice Guy. He did that tattoo there on me. Anyway, he seen it in a tattoo magazine, a photo of it. They photographed it in the magazine. And then we bumped each other at a convention. He said, "Oh man, I seen the photo." He said, "I missed something. I've got to fix it. Sit down." He said, "When I seen the photo, I was like, oh fuck, there's a line that's wrong." He said, "You know," and it's a true story. You know, he said, "I've got to fix that up." So he chewed a little bit up in one of the fingers, and he got there and he fixed it up. You know, like, and that was his. You know, it was his dedication.
He cares about his art, his work that's out there. You know, because your name's attached to it.
100%. You know, And I carried, at the time I was like going to all the tattoo shows all around the world, and it was, to me, it was a really nice living experience, because I respect the art, because I was there when people were putting charcoal stencils on people and a bit of Vaseline, and if the charcoal ran out, they couldn't tattoo you anymore.
Yeah.
If they smudged the charcoal, they couldn't follow the line, they couldn't tattoo you. None of them could draw.
Yeah.
Very few tattoo artists could actually draw.
Yeah.
They just traced the charcoal stencil.
Mm-hmm.
It's come so far. I love where the tattoo industry is. People like yourself who are artistic and creative have made the tattoo industry a better place. You see that guy beside me there?
Yeah.
That's lucky.
He's out of skin. You still have some space. He's out of skin.
No, yeah, exactly. I've got no space. I can do my face, but lucky, he's the most tattooed man in the world.
Yeah.
I've known him since when he didn't have hardly any tattoos.
Mm-hmm.
He had a lot of work done from England and that, and it was okay. He was just getting tattooed while he was drunk or stoned in places. So then he just made this idea, like, I'm going to become the most tattooed person in the world. And he's got his whole body tattooed black. Then he got white ink and got tattooed over. And like, he's really funny. He came to me. It's a funny story. He came to me when he first got his face. He had a big, like a Mike Tyson tattooed on his face,
Mm-hmm.
And he's got the silver teeth in. This is 25 years ago. Before it was real fashionable. And we're sitting down with buddies. And he says, "Man, I'm having trouble getting a girl." And I started laughing. And I said, "Have you got a fucking mirror?" And he went, "That's a bit harsh."
Yeah.
I said,
You
"Mate."
look like a certain type with that.
Yeah, I said, "He's starting to look like a circus." Well, he's an entertainer. He came from the circus.
Yeah.
I said, "You're starting to look like a freak show."
Yeah.
And then he went on with it and just, I'm going to see him in a couple of weeks at my book launch. I got a book launch. I wrote a book, my life story. And I'm writing another one called I Tattooed the World and the World Tattooed Me.
Exciting.
It's because I've got photos of every single person that tattooed me, like this Ed Hardy, Philip Blue, Jack Rude, like some pretty big names amongst them all. Timothy Hoyer, Freddie Corbin, Mario Barth. Do you know Mario?
Yep. Yeah, I lived in Vegas for a while. So yeah, Mario's right down the street.
Man, brutal. He did my ribs in one sitting.
Yeah.
I'm talking fucking
the whole side piece, yeah.
The whole tattoo he did in one sitting.
9.5
hours, man. And he smashed it. Started with a 26 Magnum. That was his first line, sideways.
Yeah.
And he said to me, because we were having a joke, and he goes, "Can you?" Because we only was at a convention. He said, "Can you handle pain?" I said, "We'll find it out." I've done 28 hours in 3 days once.
Yeah, that's a long time.
I was traveling. Traveling, and that was before numbing cream. I've never heard of numbing cream, And Mario smashed that 9.5 hours, I think it was. He had blood on him. His whole clothes, his jeans were full of blood and ink, and we did it at a convention in Tennessee.
Yeah,
fucking brutal, man. Never again. That was insane. But you want something bad enough?
Yeah, you'll earn it.
You do it, man. I got tattooed in Japan by Horiyoshi, and they had all the cameras there because I'm a white guy and I got the full bodysuit, and he's done the thing on the back of my neck, which was samurai traditional protector, and it was like the finish of my suit. And they made a big deal out of it. They were really beautiful. They gave me a kimono, and it's like all this beautiful stuff. Yeah. And I didn't realize the enormity of what was happening. Then years later, I looked back and I thought they treated me so beautifully because they respected their art so much.
Yeah.
It was like this guy's, because they understand the amount of sacrifice we go through to sit under a needle for I got 580 hours. Yeah. So a lot of hours.
Yeah. I used to look at people with tattoos and, you kind of cast judgment on, that's not good. Why would you get that? And you just see people with a whole bunch of stuff. But as I started getting more and more tattoos, then it became more and more respect because no matter what it looks like, you kept coming back for more.
Yeah.
And again and again. And it meant so much to you that you wanted to just keep going and you needed to go through this painful experience to express parts of who you are.
It was part of my recovery, because we go through a lot of pain emotionally. And I say it all the time. I was a tough guy, but, you know, not really. I was just a scared guy. The scared guys do bad things because they're afraid.
Yeah.
You know, I wasn't really a tough guy, man. I was just a scared guy. And
it wasn't hard. You were hurt.
yeah. And what happened was I realized I was an emotional coward. And getting tattooed every day when you didn't want to get tattooed and you were really sore from the day before, but you were backing up, it took a lot of courage. And I started to realize I'm not a coward.
Yeah.
I'm courageous. And I am tenacious. And I can sit through pain.
Yeah.
And that transformed into my emotional pain. And my emotional pain was like, I can sit through this. Yeah. When the machine stops buzzing, the pain stops. So when the machine stopped buzzing up here, the pain stopped.
Yeah.
And I just related that to my recovery. It was like, that's when I started to understand that I had a thinking problem. That all my pain was generated from my thought.
Yeah.
And it was completely up to me how I felt. And I was now in control of my destiny. And today, if I get into a moment, I don't have bad days. I really don't. I have bad moments. If you want to have a bad moment, then dwell on it all day and have a shitty day. That's your choice.
Correct. Yep.
That's your choice. As a human being, we'll have bad moments.
Yeah.
When I get to a bad moment that my brain gets too strong, for me, I go and submerge myself in water. I don't know why that works for me. I submerge myself in the pool or in a bath.
Yeah.
And I bring my head under because I have to concentrate on breath. I can't breathe anymore.
Yeah. You're changing the focus on where you're placing it. Instead of your thoughts or emotions, you put it on something else.
So now I've gone into survival mode. Can't breathe in because I'll drown.
Yeah.
I can't breathe out because I run out of air.
Yeah. You force yourself to meditate.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's what tattooing is. Tattooing is forced meditation.
Yeah.
And I've said that before of like, sometimes what hurts more than a tattoo is what's inside here. Yeah. You know, which is why like at Upside, we don't have, the artist can't wear headphones. You know, we have our music that plays. It allows everyone to just kind of focus. It's not too distracting, but you talk to your client. And I realize like the clients with the most pain inside, they're the ones that can deal with the pain better because this is nothing.
Yeah.
You know, like they've dealt through so much things. So then you can channel their energy and like, you kind of help them heal through their traumas, their emotional states by just talking them through, allowing them the time and the space. And, you know, we've said tattooing is like therapy, you know, but you just allow them the time and the space to talk through it. They don't realize that an hour or two just went by and they go, oh, I'm also getting tattooed. I forgot. And when they can go through that space where they're not mentally attached to the painful experience, there's less swelling, there's less redness, there's less bleeding, and we can do the work so much better. Yeah. But the moment that they're hyper-focused on the pain, there's a physiological response that happens where it swells, it bleeds, it gets irritated, they're tensing up, and then it amplifies the physical pain. Take it back into the mental, to the emotional. They forget where they're at for the moment, and they get to work through some really profound things if you want to help them out that way. And that's been like so powerful to like witness and see clients going through these big breakthroughs. We have people cry in the chair, you know, like because of how powerful that moment was, you know, like it's not just a tattoo. Like this is your chance to help them work through their pain. No human being really wants to hurt themselves.
No.
You know, but we go there to like make ourselves a little bit more beautiful, to create this sort of imagery on ourselves. And we're willing to endure the pain because something else is more painful. We need to express ourselves that badly. And we need to distract ourselves from the pain of what's inside that much more. And tattoo artists sometimes don't realize like that's what they're doing, you know, helping them work through it.
100%. And what you said is a form of meditation. And I could handle the pain so much because I'd spent a life in turmoil and deep pain. Because, you know, there used to be, you know, remarks about me at that time when I was getting smashed, and I was getting smashed because I was traveling from Australia to LA, and I'd get 3 tattooists. You know, I'd have Ed Hardy today, I'd have Jack Rudy tomorrow, and I'd have Greg James the next day. You know, my body was just healing all the time. My body was just healing all the time. Bang, bang, bang. You know, And Greg used to laugh. He'd say, I fell asleep when he did the 28 hours on my leg. We're getting ready for a show for the JD Crow show. And he wanted to completely sleeve my right leg. And I fell asleep one day while he was tattooing.
Yeah.
And he said, I've never had a client fall asleep while I'm tattooing him, you know, behind the knee and all that stuff and up around the butt, because that's the worst part of your whole body. Your butt cheek, where your butt meets your leg.
Hurts. Yeah.
Oh, that's the worst. That's the worst. I don't care what anyone. I've got my armpits done. I've got everything done.
Yeah.
That was the worst. Right where your
I've got a bit of the butt. Just a little bit, and that's not a fun spot.
Because the sun never gets there, man. It doesn't get any work, you know. It doesn't get any. Yeah. Everyone says to me, "What's the worst part of your whole body?" I say, "Where your butt meets your leg." Oh man, it's sharp pain. But yeah, man. Look, I could speak to you for hours. I really could. You're so wonderful. We'll do another one. We'll do some more. Maybe when you got time. Maybe.
Yeah, we can plan for another one.
I'll tell you what. I'll run it by you. Next year, we got the tattoo convention this year. There'll be another one next year. Maybe you'll be up to come over.
What part of Australia? I was in Sydney.
The convention's in Sydney.
Yeah, I've been there 2018.
The guy that runs it's a really good mate of mine named Reese Gordon. Look up his studio, little Tokyo. Look it up, man.
Okay.
It'll blow your mind.
Yeah,
there's not another studio in the world like it. It's in an old building in the middle of the city. It's a whole floor, man. This joint's got 30 artists in it.
Wow.
They rent their own space. They work under his banner.
Yeah.
And it's all graffitied and it's got art shows in there and podcasts and
a lot of high energy.
High energy, man. Yeah, it's pumping. It's pumping. It works, 12 hours a day. But all the artists are responsible, and all the artists have got to be respectful, and their stations have got to be immaculate. And Reese is a good guy. I've known him since he was a little boy, since he was a kid learning to tattoo. Andy, thank you very much for coming on The Truth About Addiction, mate.
It was a pleasure, Ron.
I know we didn't, I think we touched on everything we needed to touch on.
Yeah, it was a good conversation. We got our first bit in.
Yeah, man. I really, really appreciate your time. Time's valuable.
Yeah.
Time's the greatest gift you can give anybody, mate. And I really appreciate you giving me yours. Yeah. And we'll keep in touch.
Thank you for giving me the time and the energy. I appreciate you, brother. Thank you. Keep doing up the great work that you're doing.
Thank you, brother.
I solemnly swear that I will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help me God.